welcome to the Counterattack playthrough series. We're continuing with our playthrough of Invasions, and we're still on turn 1. Let's bring out our little sequence of play we've been using. Last episode we did the events step and the raids by Raider Nation step, so we're going to continue on. There are steps still that we skip on turn 1, so we skip the caravans. That's what the little symbol means on this thing. So we're going to go to the diplomacy step. That's where each nation draws one or more diplomacy cards, and they can put them in their hand and then use them appropriately. So first off, barbarian nations, sorry, no cards for them. Kingdoms, they draw a card if they have a leader with a diplomatic bonus, okay? And then we do empires. Empires draw one card no matter what, and then they might get more if they have a leader diplomatic bonus. So who draws first? Well, this little chart tells us, and it's a common pattern that it's always barbarians first, kingdoms second, empires third. But when there's a tie, you come to this, and you look at the ages. So first, the Guptas and the Persians are kingdoms, so they're going to go before the two halves of the Roman Empire. So we come here, and Evum means age. We can see the Guptas are age 2, whereas the Persians are age 4. So we'll draw a card if the Guptas have a diplomatic leader. They'll draw a card, and then the Persians. We'll have to go see if they actually have leaders that allow that. And then the empires each get to draw one card plus diplomatic for their leaders. So the Byzantines are age 3, so they get to go first. Byzantines, same thing as Eastern Roman Empire in this game. And then Western Roman Empire, these are some old people, so they go last. Okay, here we are in Western India, the Guptas. They do indeed have a leader, and that leader has a diplomatic bonus of 1. It's the middle number on the right. So that means because they're a kingdom, they get to draw 0 cards plus 1 for the diplomatic bonus. Go ahead and draw it. Looks like they drew mercenary. Okay, we'll figure out how to use these later, but I'm going to go put this with the Gupta's nation card. Now for the Persians, they are also a kingdom, and they have a leader here, Sapor II, with a diplomacy value of 1 as well. So they're going to go ahead and draw. They drew marriage. Okay, check that out later. Now for the Eastern Roman Empire, they are sort of the magenta-ish shaded Roman units. They do have a leader on the board, but there's a dash where the diplomatic value is. So since they're an empire, they draw 1 card plus the leader's value. Graft. It looks like it's used to cancel a siege, so save that for an appropriate time. Finally, over here in northern Italy, Western Roman Empire, Julianus, their emperor, has a diplomatic value of 1. They're an empire, so they get to draw 2 cards. First one's marriage. Okay, we saw one of those already. And the second card is alliance. Okay, so these will come in handy in a minute. Okay, well, the diplomacy step is the last step of the time phase, and now we start the administration phase. The conversions to Catholicism step is skipped on turn 1, as is the administration cards step. Come over here to the income step. So we're going to go in nation activation order. Again, that's barbarians first, then kingdoms, then empires. And you go by age when there's multiple in each category. So we're going to collect our income, and it's a little different for kingdoms versus empires. Then we're going to recover, which the barbarians actually do this part, just the recovery, but we basically, it's removing pillage markers, and if someone goes bankrupt, which on the first turn no one's going bankrupt, if someone goes bankrupt, you process it. So we'll do that for each nation. Okay, here's the kingdom of the Guptas. The Guptas are the youngest kingdom. Kingdoms go first by age. So we're going to total the income, and an income for a kingdom is calculated a little bit differently from the income from an empire. So a kingdom, you total the economic value of the cities, the provinces, the capital, commerce, which is like naval commerce, caravans, which I take as land commerce, and then tribute from vassals and clients. So first, let's calculate cities that are controlled and not in revolt. They're all start controlled at the beginning of the game. They're not in revolt. So we look at the little red number, 1, 2, and then the capital also counts as a city, but as a special marker, 3, 4. So that's 4 gold for cities. Now, the Guptas are a little bit special because part of their kingdom is off map, like it's abstracted by these two boxes here. So each box counts as 2 gold for cities, so that's a total of 8 gold. Okay, now for the economic value of provinces. The provinces have to be under control and not in revolt. So there's no revolts right now. But how do we know what's under control? I mean, it kind of looks obvious here, but there are rules to it. And they depend on the circumstances. So this is going to come up multiple times. I'm not going to go over all the rules, but for starters, India is an area. An area is composed of multiple provinces, all these provinces. It is civilized. So to control a province in a civilized area, you just need 1 unit in that area to be in control of it. You have to be unopposed. So using that rule, all these provinces here are under control. Hey, let me trace the area just so it's easy to see. Like, it's often hard to see that even if you're in person. It's like a little pinkish hash mark. It starts here, goes along here, and up to here. So all this is India in areas of big name. So this guy over here, he's not in India. He's on the other side of this pink border. So he's over in a different place. It's called Persia Orientalis. Now, just to preview, like, you don't actually have to have a unit in a province to maintain control of it. So there's other rules for what happens, like when your units leave. Do you keep control or not? It just depends. I'm not going to go into that right now. So let's just calculate the economic value of these provinces. So it's the red number in the province. So 2 plus 0 is 2, plus 2 is 4, 5, 6. What do we have here? 7. And then this one over here is a half. So that's 7.5. And we're going to retain the half and round it up after all the income's done. So we're up to 15.5 if we include the cities. A kingdom's capital is worth 5, and that's printed right there. As long as they control their capital, 5 more. So now we have 20. Now for commerce. So commerce is basically commercial sea zones, and a commercial sea zone has a little ship in it. So if you have a city, at least one city, on a commercial sea zone, and you control it, it's not in revolt, you get a gold. And we know this city is on this sea zone because there's an anchor here. So we get 1 gold for that. Now there's no more Gupta cities, which it wouldn't matter. But you get a bonus of 3 gold if you are the only nation with a city on that sea zone. Now if we back up a little bit, we can see the only other port available on that sea zone is over here, down in the tip of Arabia, and again, it's Mazun, but this city has not been built yet. So the Guptas are the only controller of that sea zone, so they get the bonus. So that's another 3 gold. So now we're at 24.5. Next, caravans. Caravans are worth 1 gold, and they have 1 caravan. If this wasn't turn 1, we would roll to see if there is an exceptional caravan in the east and in the west, and that might bring in more gold, but in this case, just 1 more gold, so we're at 25.5. All right, and that's all the sources of income. So we round that up, because you round up all numbers in this game. There might be an exception here or there, but in general, all numbers round up. So we're at 26 for the Guptas. But now we have to subtract expenses. Okay, there are a number of things that are considered expenses, but for a kingdom, the main one, in this kingdom in particular, the only one, is unit maintenance, so combat unit maintenance. So a leader doesn't count, that's just one guy, maybe his bodyguard, but it's a gold for each military unit. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then what do we have in here? 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So we have to subtract 13 from our 26, so that leaves us with 13. Here's the income track, or maybe it's more like the bank. So the Guptas start the game with 15, so they have 13, so that's 28. The track only goes up to 20, so we flip it over to the plus 20 side and go to the 8, so they have 28 gold. One little tip when doing this, if you control all the provinces in an area, this is the economic value of the provinces for a kingdom. This has a little crown here for kingdom. So control of the provinces, 7 gold, and I could have just added the half from this one that's outside the area. Now the next kingdom, Persia. So I'm not going to go through all that again, try to speed this up a little bit, but so again, we can look over at Mesopotamia, which I know they control, and Persis, which I know they control. Look, there's a 9, and then I won't make a mess there, but there's a number in there somewhere. There it is, 12. So we already know what the provinces are worth because they control those. But then this province over here, they control it, but someone else has a little foothold in it, the Guptas, so we can't use that little trick. But anyway, if I add it all up, it's 27 for provinces, 11 for cities, 5 for their capital, 0 for commerce, 1 for a caravan, which is here, and 3 for tribute. Okay, so a couple little differences from the Guptas. Okay, first let's start with the commerce. That was the sea area, right? They have a city on the sea, but it doesn't have an anchor symbol. There's nothing here. No anchor symbol there. So the anchor symbol on this sea is down here in Arabia. So they would have to like build a city here in order to get this commerce. So they didn't get that commerce. And then tribute. Well, there are a few different kinds of relationships between nations in this game. Now, in the first episode, I talked about how there are some nations that are inactive, and I can point out some here. Up here, there are 3 inactive minor kingdoms: the Colchi, there are Memenii, and the Hiberni. And then down here, there's the Lakhmids or Lakhmides, Gassanides. I don't know the pronunciations. But anyway, those are independent minor kingdoms. So like no one's playing them. If they get attacked, a person will have to, make some decisions for them because they might have to retreat or something like that. But basically, they're not being played. But they can be destroyed or conquered. And basically, a nation can force them to become their client. And the nation that forces them is now their, quote, patron. And I guess for the privilege of not being destroyed, the client would give tribute to the patron and soldiers for the privilege of living. So at the start of the game, the Hiberni are a client of Persia, and then also the Lakhmids as well. And for those 2 independent minor kingdoms, we have little markers to indicate how much tribute they give, and I just go ahead and put this with one of the Persian markers. I put it with the age marker. The games just put it with the income, but it looks like the Iberians will give 2, and the Lakhmids 1 gold in tribute. So the grand total is 47 income. Now for expenses. Okay, so their only expenses are their large army, which is 24 units. So it's minus 24, which brings us down to 23. Now, okay, the Persians start at 10, so they're going to go to 33. That'd be 13 on the plus 20 side. Okay, Eastern Roman Empire income. They're the youngest empire. They're the magenta. If you have color differentiation issues, either from the video or just color blindness, like, because the Western Romans are red, these are sort of a magenta, but they kind of look similar to me. You can look at the names. They have Orient for the east and Occident, or Oxid, for the west. So anyway, empires calculate their income very similar to kingdoms. There's just one difference. The main difference is that instead of getting income for the province control, you get income for area control. That's the main one. So I went through all their cities, and they have 32 income for cities. They have a lot of cities. Now some of them have like a value of 3 or 2, for example. There's a decent amount of those. So yeah, that's a lot for cities. Now in the documents that come with the game or that you can download as living rules, like, just got to be careful because there's a lot of errors. Like, this is like one of the most error-filled games I've ever had. So they suggest there's 34 cities. I cannot find 2 more gold for cities anywhere for the Byzantines. I think it's wrong. So anyway, yeah, 32. Okay, and then for areas, if you control an area, and we kind of talked about that with the Guptas, if you control an area, you get 1 gold. So they have 6 areas, that's 6 gold. But if you have total control, you have double that, so 12 gold. And they have total control of their areas. Total control basically means you have control of every single thing needed to control an area. Now, one little difference between kingdoms and empires. I said a kingdom had to have the majority of the provinces to control an area. Well, an empire has to have the majority of the cities to control an area. So total control means you have control of all the cities. Now, unlike a kingdom, an empire's capital gets 10 gold instead of 5 gold. So got some more there. Commerce, 13. So this, I'm just going to go over this one a little bit just to help it sink in, and there's some nuances, right? So down here, they have a anchor symbol on the sea, that's 1 gold, and they're the only country, because they own all of Egypt down here, only country with a city on this sea, so they get the bonus here, so that's a total of 4. Same thing here, 4. Up here is 3, so that way we're at 11, okay? And then, let's see if I can get this over here on camera. Yeah, I can. So, this sea, they have a city on it, so that's another gold. But another nation has a port on that city, even though they're buddies. Another nation has a city on that port, so they don't get this little bonus here. And then likewise, the one down here, there's like a port on Sicily owned by Western Rome too, so they get another gold, so it brings it up to 13, and they don't get this bonus. Finally, like Persia, they have 2 clients. They have the Armenii, or Armenians, they pay 2 gold. And the Ghassanids down here in Arabia, they pay 1 gold, so it's sort of a mirror image of the Persians. That brings our grand total of income to 71. Now for expenses, the only applicable expense is for heresies in areas that they control. So again, heresies are religious sort of splinter religions from the main religion, and so the Byzantines are Catholic, so these are like abominations to Catholicism. So they, among other things, cause a drain of 1 gold per area. So that'll be down to -2, bringing us down to 69 gold. Here's another tip. Remember I told you that tip about if you control an area and you're a kingdom, this is the amount of gold you get for provinces? Well, here's one for empires. If you control an area, that's the amount of gold for total control of the area plus cities. I think I would advise never use it because your cities can change in economic value. You can build more cities in many places, and I'm pretty sure I don't know, I haven't gone through, but they might not actually be correct everywhere. But even if they are correct, they can change. So they would only be correct at the start of the game. So it doesn't really seem useful. But anyway, it's there if you want to look at it and see if that'll help speed things up. Okay, the Byzantines start with 10, so they're going to go to 79. So there's a problem, and this is one minor annoyance I have with the game, is that it's impossible to record a 79 here. The most we can record is a 40. We flip this guy over here, 40. Now what? So I think I'm going to treat some pillage markers temporarily as 10s maybe. So I'm at 40, 50, 60, 70. This is 79. Is that right? 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. This is silly, right? Okay, we're at 79. Okay, Western Roman Empire. Okay, I went through. They have 7 areas. They have total control of them, so that's 14 gold. They have 30 cities. There's actually a city in Britain I missed in the first turn, or the first video up here, and that could have been raided by the Picts right there. It was hidden under Limas, I think. But anyway, there's a total of 30 cities. So that's 30 gold worth of cities, I should say. The capital in Ravenna is worth 10. So we're supposed to use a little capital marker for Roma, but it is not worth 10. So that is not a capital. Not sure why we were supposed to use this. I think it's because it has a -1 because its walls have been damaged heavily. Maybe that's why. But anyway, 10. Commerce is 13. Went through that. There's a little boat over here off of Spain. There's no city controlling an anchor over there, so we don't get that one. We have one caravan. It's down in Tripolitana, down here a little bit. One tribute from the Mauritanians down here in Africa. These are the Mauritanians. And part of the total control of Africa down here, the African area, clients count towards that. So we have total control of Africa. Those Mauritanians, they give one tribute. Okay, and then there are 2 heresies, subtracting 1 from each area. There's one up in Britain off camera, and then one down in Tunisia area. So that's a -2. And then finally, I'm putting this with the age marker of Rome. Western Rome is in decline, so that's a -5 right there. You can actually double it to being like extra in decline, but they're just baby in decline. So that's a -5. That's a total of 60 income. And for expenses, I've already accounted for them in the income, the heresies and the in decline marker. There is a recovery step where you deal with bankruptcy, but also you remove pillage markers from cities, which we don't have any, but we do have pillage markers, one in Britain and one here in North Africa. So you can remove up to 2 pillage markers per turn from a non-city space, like this one. And you can only do 1 per area, so fortunately we only have 1 per area, so we remove this pillage marker and the one up in Britain. Okay. Okay, the Western Romans start with 6, so that means we're going to go to 66. Again, we got some silliness, so we flip this. We're at 40, right? 46, 56, 66. Okay, now the purchases step, and we do that in nation activation order. Barbarians don't make purchases, so we start with the earliest kingdom, the Guptas, or the youngest kingdom, I should say. And first we grab their force pool. So I'm just going to throw it up here off map, because their force pool is small. So a force pool is basically a pool of military units that are available for purchase. Usually they get populated by units dying, but there's some force pools that have units added to them. So they have an elephant and 2 archers available for purchase. If we look at the purchase costs chart, we can see an archer, an infantry or a foot archer, for a kingdom costs 2 gold. So they could buy both those archers for 4 gold. And then elephants, they're mentioned in the rules. They're treated as heavy units, and the reason I know that they are heavy in game, besides the rules, is they have these 2 shields. So a shield of that style means it's heavy. So this is like double heavy. And by the way, I know these are archers because they have little bow symbols. But anyway, we won't worry about the nature of what an archer and heavy unit is, but elephants aren't listed in the cost, so I'm going to have to just treat them as heavy infantry. They don't have a cavalry symbol on them, which is sort of what I would have thought they are. So we're going to call those, that for a kingdom, 3 gold. So a total of 7 gold. The Guptas have 28. That would bring us down to 21. I like it. Okay, so we'll buy those. As you see, we can also build city fortifications. For example, we could spend 15 to build essentially walls at that city. Now, I would like to do that, but I'm a little nervous, and I haven't consumed the rules enough to really understand what the nature of this is going to be like yet. But on next turn, all kingdoms and empires are going to have to draw 1 or more of these administration cards, and you have to buy one. And for the kingdom side is less expensive than the empire side, but we can see there's one in here. Yeah, that one costs 20. And so the guptas, after buying these guys, are down to 21. So I'm not sure I want to go below 20, at least until I have a feel for how those cards come into play. So we're just going to go down to 21 and not buy a city. We'll keep that the rest of our gold. Not buy a fortified city, I should say. So we got to place these units. So military units have a stacking maximum, meaning how many units can go into a province. In general, it's 4. An exception is mountains, which is 3. You may have noticed already, but the province color, the background of a province, indicates its terrain. For example, I believe this one's desert, this one's what's called clear, I guess maybe grassland. Or these brown over here, mountains. So mountains, you can only stack 3 military units. Everywhere else, 4. And then each leader has a stacking bonus, so this is +2, so he can stack 4 for clear, or non-mountainous, and then +2 for 6. He already has 6 though. So I'm inclined to just throw these 3 guys all together with this guy here in the desert. And my reasoning for that is I know that when enemy units are moving, you can try to intercept them. So I like having like a little fat stack there. That's the max stack for a province that doesn't have mountains or a leader. Okay, now for Persia, let's get their force pool out. I'm going to throw it maybe like right down here in Arabia, since they don't control that. So they have 2 naval vessels, and then 4 just like looks like vanilla infantry. I'm saying vanilla infantry because they don't have little icons on them. There's ordinary folks. So infantry will cost 2 for a kingdom, and a fleet 10. So I definitely want to buy all 4 infantry, I think. So that'll be 8. We're at 33, so that takes us down to 25. Okay. And so I'm not sure why I would want to buy these fleets. The Guptas don't have any fleets in their force pool, so I suppose I would want to buy them to be able to easily send troops across the Persian Gulf, basically into Arabia, and maybe around to hit the Guptas from behind or something. But I'm inclined to not buy these fleets right now until I really have a feel for it. So we'll just put them back in the force pool. That leaves us with these 4 troops, and then we can decide if we want to fortify a city. So out here in the steppe, there is a sort of minor leader. He's called a satraps. Is that what he's called? Yeah, satraps, or satrapus. He has some horse archers with him, cavalry archers. Now I'm kind of worried about the Guptas coming here. The Guptas, when we get to the military phase, that's where combat happens. Just like we've been going, activation order, barbarians first, then kingdoms, in age order, and the Guptas will go before the Persians can do anything. So I'm inclined to beef him up with at least 3 to max stacking. Let's see, what does he have? He has a +1 stacking, so I can even get 1 more, so we have 5 there. Okay, and so he'll sort of try to counter any kind of Gupta attack into Persia Orientalis. Now, while I'm placing these, I should be looking at my diplomacy cards, because there's diplomacy cards that could prevent, for example, the Guptas from attacking, in which case I wouldn't need to do this. And there are some other guys up here, but yeah, let me go remind myself about the cards. Okay, the card the Persians have is marriage. Okay, so they have to play this before their military phase or the Guptas' military phase starts. So I suppose they'd wait right until before the Guptas if they wanted to try to keep the Guptas from fighting them. So this says we propose a marriage between the Guptas and ourselves, assuming I'm playing Persia. We have to pay the Guptas 2 gold. If the Guptas choose not to attack us, they get 2 victory points. So it's not a guaranteed alliance. But if they do not attack, they get a few victory points. But they have to give us a military unit, I guess permanently, and that military unit will not fight against the Guptas. So this is not a guarantee. So I'm going to keep those guys there. But that might be something good to play when the military phase comes. Now we do have 35 left. That means the little 20 margin for the most expensive administration card is I have enough and still fortify a city for 15. But if I want to play that marriage card, that's going to cost 2. So it seems like I should have a little buffer whenever I'm planning things above and beyond the administration card. So we're just going to hold fast here at what are we at? We're at 25. Yeah. All right. Okay, the Byzantines. Their force pool consists entirely of 2 ships. One is regular, one is veteran. That's what a diamond means. A regular unit, when it takes a hit, is destroyed. A veteran, when it takes a hit, it ceases to be veteran, but it is still alive. Okay, but I don't want to put these here because I'll forget and keep them in the C zone. So I don't think I want to purchase them. I'm not really sure when it's a good idea to purchase them. Maybe when more nations start getting into these areas with ships, that's when I want to purchase them. So the Byzantines have a lot of money, 79. One thing I need to mention, I haven't had this case yet, but at the end of the income phase, the max you can hold in your bank is 40. So you might as well always buy down below 40. So 79, that means we're going to upgrade some cities. So this has me really worried. That's a lot of Persian units, not a lot of Romans, right? So Phoenicia here, that's a 3-level city. I'm going to flip that over. That's going to be 15. And then, I don't know, even this little 1-level city, if the Persians somehow get in here, I want walled cities because I believe they will slow down any kind of attack, like if they were trying to come in like this. So that'll be 30. We're down to 49, so I can do at least one more. I think, I don't know what's going to happen here with the Ostrogoths and Visigoths. That's what these, I probably can't see the other one. Where are you? There you are. Like these guys here. These greenish ones are all inactive. But these guys, those are active. Plus there's the Alans over here, kind of hard to see a little bit. Are they going to come in here? I don't know. How hard is it to bust through here? No idea. But Thessalonica in Macedonia, that's a 2-level city. So just in case they can bust through there, we'll spend another 15. We're at 49. So that takes us down to 34, if my math is right. So if I bought another, I would be below 20. So we'll just stop at 34. Hopefully I didn't mess up the math. Okay, so they fortified 3 cities. Finally, Western Rome, their force pool, I guess we'll put it off the coast of France here. They have 2 regular naval vessels and barbarian cavalry archers. So it's a horse symbol with a bow on it. And they're Mauritanians. How nice. So some Mauritanians in our army potentially. We can see horse archers for an empire cost 6. So obviously empire more expensive based on the chart. So I definitely want to buy these guys. The question is, where do I want to put them? I could put them with my leader, Julianus, but look at these barbarians. Barbarians are going to go before empires. They're going to cause some mayhem. So I can't imagine putting this horse archer like in the line over here is going to do much. So I think I'm going to put it with Julianus. And he's just going to have to tidy up after those guys come in. And then I don't think it's worth buying these guys just yet. Okay, well, we still have 60, so I'm willing to fortify 2 cities to bring us down to 30. So there's one in northern Italy. It was worth 2, where Julianus is. So we'll do that one. And then, these guys are, I'm assuming, well, I guess they can come this way too, huh? I don't know. I'm inclined to maybe upgrade this one, just sort of make it tougher to go this way. Okay, so that's 30. And that brings us down to 30. All right. One thing I missed at the purchases phase, an in decline Rome or Byzantium needs to do a D2 check to see if there's a usurper. So, only Western Rome has an in decline marker. So, a D2 check, we have to roll for them. If I roll an even number, it's yes, there's a usurper. Odd number, no. That is a 10. Yes, there's a usurper. So a usurper is something called a calamity. So here we have the description of that calamity. There's a lot to it. So I'll go ahead and not show this, there's too much here, and we'll process it. Okay, the first thing we check for the Western Roman Empire is, do they have dynastic stability? And what that means is they haven't had a usurper event in the last 2 turns. It's the first turn, so we haven't, so we are stable. That means we get to roll 2 dice and pick the best one. Otherwise, we'd only get to roll 1. So that's a positive. Then we get to pick one of our leaders' combat value. So that's the upper left corner. There's only one Roman leader, Julianus. He's got a 3, so that's going to be a +3 on our die roll. We get +1 per fetus. Don't need to worry about what that is right now. It's essentially like an alliance with some barbarians. We don't have any. +2 if I designate an elite unit as loyal to the nation's player. So I guess this is like Julianus's, personally loyal troops. Well, sure, here we'll designate this guy. So we get a +2 for that. And we can get a +1 for up to 2 auxiliary loyal units. So I'm going to say, yeah, I might as well do this. I don't want Rome to have someone usurp. It looks bad. So I'm going to pick a unit over in Spain and a unit down in Africa. There's some legions down there. If something bad happens, I'm not sure if it could happen to these loyal units. So I don't want them all on the border. So anyway, that's another +2. So let's go ahead and roll. We want big numbers. Oh, okay, so we rolled a 10. +7 is 17. I'm pretty confident we are not going to be usurped. Now I have to pick a random player to take on the role of the usurper, even though this is a Roman event going on. I'll pick a blue player, so the guy that controls these guys. So the blue player is going to roll a die. Actually, if the nation's in decline, we roll 1 die. Rome is in decline. If it wasn't in decline, we'd roll 2 and take the lower number. So I guess being in decline makes it more likely to be usurped. We get +1 to the die roll. If the in decline marker's on this side, +2 on this side. Well, we get a +1. We get half a point for each barbarian horde in Rome's territory. There aren't any. +1 for each in revolt area. Nope, none. +1 for each heresy in the nation's areas. Well, there are 2 heresies, one in Britannia, one in Africa. So there's going to be a total of +3 to this die roll. It's a 5. Well, 17 is greater than 5. So the usurper was defeated by the loyalists. If the other way around, the usurper would have won. So when the usurper is defeated, 1 unit of the player's choice must be eliminated. I'm assuming the usurper's choice. If it's an intact elite unit, it's flipped instead. So the usurper is this blue guy here. And he's got some more blues. Where are those guys? Up here too. So maybe he'll choose this unit here just to try to make the border a little more porous. So this guy's got flipped. Hold on now, that's wrong. Off camera I dropped the die on here and everything went flying. These are the Custodes. It's a double elite heavy unit. That's supposed to be in Rome or Latium. So let me pause here and make sure I got the units in the right spots. Okay, I think it's correct. I was just supposed to have 1 dude in Illyria. It's Illyria, so he's there. So I think I would pick this guy to flip. All right. Okay, we're almost done with the administration phase. We did purchases. We try to subdue revolts, which there are none right now. Then Catholic VPs, Romans, Byzantines, and Franks after they convert to Catholicism, which has not happened. Score Catholic VPs per number of non-heretical areas controlled. Now, looking in the rules, I had a difficult time finding how many VPs you get, because you would think it's 1, but the living rules indicate Western Rome gets 2 per non-heretical area, and Eastern Rome gets 1. So I think we already established Western Rome as 5, non-heretical. They have 7 heretical areas, so that's going to be 10 points. And then Eastern Rome, I don't actually remember. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6, 2 of which are permanently heretical. The Oriens in Egypt. You're not even supposed to set markers up, but I did just to remind myself. They are permanently heretical. So they get 4 times 1 is 4 points, so 10 and 4. And we're done with the administration phase. I feel like this game could have been a bit more streamlined. Like, why am I getting victory points before I've made any decisions? It's kind of strange. Not to mention the income and unit purchases at the beginning of the game. Why not just I don't know. Just seems like it should have been ready to go right into military on turn 1. Anyway, not much fun happened here. It's lots of bookkeeping, but I'm trying to keep these videos short. This one's not that short. Stay tuned for the next one. We'll start in with the military phase, and that's where all the action happens.